Looking in the mirror and seeing more of your scalp than you used to can feel genuinely alarming. Each time you run your fingers through your hair, more strands seem to come away, leaving you wondering when this started and why it's happening. You're not imagining it, and you're not alone, because hair thinning in women is becoming more common than ever, especially as we move through midlife. Many women are told that this kind of hair thinning is simply part of getting older, or something written into their genetics, and that learning to accept it is the only option. But what doctors are now closely observing is a very different pattern. For a growing number of women, the real trigger isn't aging or stress at all, but certain foods they eat regularly, often multiple times a week, believing they're making healthy choices. In this video, we'll look at which common vegetables may be quietly working against your hair, and the one surprising vegetable that contains more hair-building protein than eggs. If this matters to you, subscribe for more health insights, leave a comment telling me which country you're watching from, and stay until the end, because I have a small surprise related to this topic before we finish. So let's start with the first common vegetable many women eat for their health without realizing how it may be interfering with hair regrowth. 1. Spinach. Iron absorption blocked by oxalates. Spinach is often the first thing women reach for when hair starts thinning because it feels like the responsible choice. It shows up in smoothies, salads, and meal plans built around the idea of doing better, especially when fatigue or shedding begins to raise quiet concern. On paper, it makes sense. Spinach contains iron, antioxidants, and a long list of nutrients associated with good health. Yet in real clinical settings, spinach appears again and again in the diets of women whose blood tests still show low or borderline iron, even though they believe they are eating exactly what their hair needs. The disconnect comes from how the body handles iron, not whether iron is present. Spinach contains oxalates, compounds that bind tightly to minerals inside the digestive tract. When spinach is consumed raw and in large amounts, particularly as a daily habit, these oxalates prevent iron from being absorbed efficiently. That iron never reaches the bloodstream and therefore never reaches the hair follicles, which rely on a steady supply to maintain growth and strength. Over time, follicles begin to behave as if iron is scarce, shedding increases, and strands grow weaker, even though the diet looks healthy on the surface. What surprises many women is that the answer is not to remove spinach, but to stop relying on it in one rigid form. Lightly cooking spinach changes how the body responds to it, reducing oxalate activity and improving mineral availability. Using spinach occasionally, rather than daily, and rotating it with other greens allows iron absorption to recover. Pairing spinach with vitamin C-rich foods further supports this process without requiring drastic dietary changes. When spinach is used with intention rather than excess, it stops working against the follicles and becomes neutral again. That shift alone can stabilize shedding for many women, and it opens the door to noticing another everyday habit that feels healthy, yet quietly sends the wrong message to the body when hair growth is already under pressure. 2. Celery, the low-protein morning trap. For many women, celery juice feels like a clean reset, a quiet promise that starting the day light and disciplined must be good for the body. It looks harmless, even virtuous, and it often becomes a daily ritual during periods of stress, weight concerns, or hormonal change. Yet when hair thinning begins, this habit deserves a closer look, because the first meal of the day sends powerful signals about what the body should protect and what it can afford to put on pause. Hair follicles are not passive structures. They are among the most active tissues in the body, constantly cycling, dividing, and building new strands. To do that work, they depend on early access to protein and energy. When the morning begins with celery alone, the body receives hydration and fiber, but almost no protein and very little usable fuel. In response, it quietly shifts into conservation. Essential organs are prioritized while processes seen as non-critical, including hair growth, are temporarily deprioritized. This does not cause immediate shedding, which is why the connection is often overlooked, but over time, follicles receive the message that resources are limited. What makes this pattern deceptive is that celery itself is not the problem. The issue is context. Celery works best as a supportive addition, not as a replacement for nourishment. When celery juice is followed by a breakfast that includes protein such as eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or a plant-based protein option, the metabolic signal changes completely. Adding healthy fats from nuts, seeds, or avocado further stabilizes energy availability and supports hormonal balance. Celery also fits well into soups, stews, or balanced lunches, where it contributes freshness without displacing what follicles need. When mornings consistently provide adequate protein and calories, hair follicles remain supported rather than sidelined. Shedding often becomes less dramatic, and the body is better prepared to respond as we move on to another food choice that feels filling and harmless, yet frequently leaves hair quietly undernourished. 3. Iceberg lettuce, full stomach starving follicles. Iceberg lettuce has a way of making a meal feel safe. It fills the bowl, adds crunch, and creates the reassuring sense that you have eaten something light and responsible. Many women lean on it heavily when trying to manage weight digestion or blood sugar, especially during periods when hair thinning begins to raise concern. A large salad can look generous and satisfying, yet what it provides emotionally is very different from what it delivers biologically. From a physiological standpoint, iceberg lettuce is almost entirely water and fiber, with very little protein, iron, or meaningful micronutrients. When it forms the base of meals day after day, the stomach may feel full, but hair follicles experience a different reality. Follicles require consistent access to amino acids, minerals, and energy to sustain growth cycles. When meals are built around bulk without nourishment, the body interprets fullness as satiety, but the tissues responsible for hair production quietly receive too little to work with. Over time, this mismatch can slow follicle activity, weaken strands, and contribute to gradual thinning that feels difficult to explain. What makes iceberg lettuce particularly misleading is that it does not cause harm through irritation or inflammation. Instead, it displaces opportunity. Each large portion replaces space that could have been filled with foods that actively support hair health. The correction here is subtle but powerful. Iceberg does not need to disappear, but it should no longer be the foundation. Replacing it with darker, more nutrient-dense greens, such as romaine butter lettuce or mixed greens, immediately raises the nutritional value of the same meal. Adding protein to salads changes the equation even further. Grilled chicken eggs, beans, lentils, or seeds provide the building blocks follicles need, while healthy fats help with nutrient absorption. When salads shift from being merely filling to being nourishing, hair follicles begin receiving consistent support again. That transition often reveals how another familiar comfort food, especially one tied to blood sugar swings, can quietly intensify scalp stress when hair is already vulnerable. 4. White potatoes, blood sugar spikes, and scalp inflammation. White potatoes are deeply woven into everyday comfort eating. They feel familiar, satisfying, and harmless, especially when prepared in simple home-style meals. For many women, they are not seen as a problem food, but as a neutral staple that helps meals feel complete. Yet when hair thinning becomes persistent, it is worth paying attention to how often these foods appear and what they quietly trigger beneath the surface. From a biological perspective, white potatoes have a high glycemic impact, meaning they cause blood sugar to rise quickly after eating. Each spike is followed by a surge of insulin, and when this pattern repeats frequently, it promotes low-grade inflammation throughout the body. The scalp is not immune to this process. Hair follicles are highly sensitive to inflammatory signals, and repeated blood sugar swings can disrupt the environment they rely on to cycle and regenerate normally. Over time, this can shorten growth phases, weaken strands, and increase shedding, even when overall calorie intake seems adequate. What often goes unnoticed is that the issue is not an occasional potato, but the form and frequency. Fried potatoes, heavily processed versions, or large portions, eaten without protein, amplify blood sugar, stress, and oxidative load. The adjustment here is not about restriction, but refinement. Choosing preparation methods that slow glucose release, such as boiling or baking potatoes with the skin on, changes how the body responds. Allowing them to cool slightly before eating increases resistant starch, which further softens blood sugar impact. Pairing potatoes with protein and healthy fats makes an even greater difference. This combination steadies insulin response and reduces inflammatory signaling to the scalp. Many women notice that when blood sugar becomes more stable, scalp sensitivity decreases and shedding becomes less intense. If this connection feels familiar to you, comment 1 if you eat white potatoes often, or 0 if they are already rare in your meals. That awareness matters because the next vegetable we will discuss works in the opposite direction, helping calm inflammation while actively supporting hair structure and recovery. 5. Brussels sprouts, collagen support and hormone clearance. Brussels sprouts rarely get much attention, yet many nutrition specialists now point to them as one of the most underrated vegetables for women dealing with hair thinning. In clinical discussions around midlife hair loss, doctors increasingly emphasize that the issue is not only about nutrients reaching the scalp, but also about how efficiently the body processes hormones over time and adapts to hormonal shifts. When hormone clearance slows, hair follicles are often among the first tissues to reflect that imbalance. Researchers studying cruciferous vegetables have consistently noted their role in supporting the body's natural detoxification pathways, particularly in the liver, which plays a central role in hormone metabolism and systemic balance. Brussels sprouts contain compounds that help the liver break down and clear excess hormones more efficiently, a process endocrinologists often highlight when addressing hormonally driven hair thinning. This matters because fluctuating estrogen and androgen levels are a well-documented contributor to female pattern hair loss. At the same time, Brussels sprouts provide a significant amount of vitamin C, a nutrient dermatologists frequently associate with collagen synthesis, follicle anchoring, and strand resilience. What clinicians often observe is that when women improve hormone clearance and reduce internal inflammatory stress, hair quality begins to change gradually rather than overnight. Shedding becomes less aggressive, strands feel stronger, and growth patterns appear more stable over several weeks. Brussels sprouts support this process quietly instead of forcefully, which is why their benefits are often underestimated in everyday diets. For practical use, experts generally recommend light steaming or roasting rather than boiling, which preserves their beneficial compounds. Including Brussels sprouts several times a week as part of balanced meals supports hormone processing without requiring major dietary shifts. As this internal balance improves, hair follicles become more receptive, preparing the body for the next vegetable that builds on this foundation by directly supplying growth-supporting nutrients. 6. Broccoli, protein, folate, and estrogen balance. Broccoli is often treated as a side dish, something added to the plate out of habit rather than intention, yet many clinicians now regard it as one of the most quietly effective vegetables for women experiencing hair thinning. When dermatologists and nutrition experts talk about midlife hair changes, they frequently return to two overlooked factors: whether the body has enough building blocks for new growth and whether hormonal signals are being processed in a balanced way. Broccoli sits at the intersection of both. From a nutritional standpoint, broccoli provides a meaningful amount of plant-based protein compared to most vegetables, which matters because hair strands are built from keratin, a protein structure that requires steady amino acid availability. In addition, broccoli is rich in folate, a B vitamin closely linked to cell division. Hair follicles are constantly producing new cells, and clinicians often note that suboptimal folate levels can slow this process, leading to weaker growth and increased shedding over time. Many women, especially those under chronic stress or following restrictive diets, unknowingly fall short in this area. Researchers have also drawn attention to broccoli's role in estrogen metabolism. Broccoli contains compounds that support the body's ability to process and balance estrogen more effectively, a point frequently emphasized by endocrinologists when discussing hormonally driven hair thinning. When estrogen signaling becomes erratic, follicles can enter shorter growth cycles and produce finer strands, particularly around the crown and part line. In practice, broccoli works best when it is prepared gently. Light steaming or quick roasting preserves its nutrients while keeping it easy to digest. Including broccoli several times a week as part of balanced meals provides consistent support rather than a dramatic intervention. As protein intake stabilizes and hormonal signaling becomes more even, hair follicles are better positioned to respond, setting the stage for the next vegetable that plays a critical role in protecting follicles from oxidative stress and improving iron utilization. 7. Red bell peppers, iron absorption and antioxidant protection. Red bell peppers are often seen as a colorful addition to meals chosen for taste or crunch, rather than for their deeper impact on hair health. Yet many clinicians now emphasize their importance when addressing persistent shedding, especially in women whose iron intake appears adequate on paper, but whose hair continues to thin. What makes red bell peppers unique is not a single nutrient, but how they amplify the effectiveness of others. From a physiological perspective, iron does not work in isolation. Even when iron is present in the diet, it must be absorbed efficiently and delivered to the follicles to support growth. Red bell peppers are exceptionally rich in vitamin C, a nutrient widely recognized by hematologists and dermatologists for its role in enhancing iron absorption. Vitamin C changes iron into a form the body can use more readily, helping ensure that iron from plant-based foods actually reaches the bloodstream and ultimately the hair follicles that depend on it. Beyond absorption, red bell peppers provide powerful antioxidant protection. Hair follicles are highly sensitive to oxidative stress, which can damage the cells responsible for producing strong strands. Researchers studying nutritional antioxidants have repeatedly noted that vitamin C helps neutralize free radicals before they disrupt follicle function. In clinical observation, women who increase antioxidant intake often report reduced breakage and improved hair texture over time, even before visible regrowth occurs. What also sets red bell peppers apart is their contribution to scalp health. They contain compounds that support natural oil production, helping maintain a balanced scalp environment that protects emerging strands. Practically, they are easy to integrate, whether eaten raw, lightly roasted, or added to warm dishes. When red bell peppers become a regular part of meals, they strengthen the impact of iron-rich foods and reduce oxidative strain, creating conditions that allow follicles to hold on to growth. This protection becomes especially valuable as we move toward a food that contributes not just support, but substantial protein and hormonal stability. 8. Edamame, complete protein and hormonal stability. One of the most common patterns doctors notice in women with thinning hair is not extreme deficiency, but gradual erosion. Protein intake slowly drops over time, meals become lighter portions, shrink, and hair follicles quietly adapt to less than they need. This often happens without any deliberate restriction, simply as appetites change and lighter eating becomes routine. Over months, follicles adjust to this new baseline and shedding becomes more noticeable. Edamame helps correct this pattern in a way that feels natural rather than forced. It provides complete protein, delivering all essential amino acids required to build keratin, the structural framework of every hair strand. Unlike many plant foods that offer only partial support, edamame supplies these building blocks in balanced proportions, which is why clinicians frequently recommend it to women who struggle to meet protein needs without relying heavily on meat or supplements. When follicles receive consistent amino acids, growth cycles tend to stabilize and strand thickness is better maintained. Edamame's relevance after midlife extends beyond protein alone. Endocrinologists often emphasize that fluctuating estrogen levels can shorten the hair growth phase, leading to finer strands and diffuse thinning. Edamame contains natural compounds that support hormonal steadiness rather than forcing hormonal shifts, creating a calmer internal environment for follicles to function predictably. In daily life, edamame fits easily into familiar meals without demanding strict rules or dietary overhaul. When used a few times a week, it quietly restores a foundation many women did not realize was missing. And once both protein supply and hormonal rhythm begin to stabilize together, the body becomes far more receptive to the final food we will discuss, one that concentrates several hair-supporting elements into a single, highly efficient source. Over time, this combination often translates into fewer dramatic shed cycles and a steadier sense that hair is no longer constantly falling behind. For many women, that stability is the first sign that internal support is finally catching up with follicle demand. 9. Spirulina, the converging protein-rich solution for hair recovery. By the time hair thinning becomes noticeable, it is rarely driven by a single missing nutrient. Clinicians often describe it as a convergence problem, where protein intake is inconsistent, iron delivery is impaired, inflammation is elevated, and follicles are forced to operate under constant constraint. This is why spirulina stands apart from the foods discussed so far, because it does not address one pathway in isolation, but several at once. Spirulina is exceptionally dense in usable protein, providing a concentrated supply of amino acids in proportions the body can readily absorb. Hair strands are built from keratin, and when protein arrives efficiently rather than sporadically, follicles regain the ability to maintain longer growth phases. Beyond protein, spirulina contains iron in a highly bioavailable form without the absorption barriers seen in many leafy greens. This matters because clinicians frequently observe that hair recovery stalls when iron intake appears sufficient, but delivery remains inefficient. Researchers have also drawn attention to spirulina's role in reducing oxidative stress and calming low-grade inflammation, both of which directly affect follicle signaling. Chronic inflammation can push follicles into premature resting phases, while antioxidant support helps protect the cells responsible for active growth. In practice, spirulina often functions as a nutritional reset, providing support across multiple systems without requiring complex dietary restructuring. What makes spirulina especially useful is its efficiency. Small amounts deliver meaningful impact whether blended into smoothies or taken consistently in another form. When used regularly, it reinforces the progress created by earlier dietary changes, allowing follicles to respond rather than resist. At this point, hair recovery becomes less about chasing fixes and more about sustaining balance, which brings us to the final step of understanding how these choices work together over time. Over weeks, clinicians often notice improved energy alongside hair changes reflecting better iron utilization and metabolic support. This systemic response reinforces follicle resilience, making results more sustainable and less dependent on constant dietary adjustments. Hair thinning is rarely the result of a single mistake or a missing miracle food. As we've seen, it develops when small, everyday choices slowly disrupt protein intake, iron absorption, blood sugar balance, hormone processing, and inflammation control, often without clear warning signs at first. When those pressures accumulate, hair follicles respond by conserving shedding and weakening. The encouraging truth is that recovery follows the same logic in reverse. By adjusting how familiar foods are used, choosing nutrient-dense vegetables, stabilizing protein intake, and reducing internal stress, the scalp environment can gradually shift back toward growth strength and long-term resilience. The most important advice is to think in patterns rather than quick fixes. Consistency matters far more than intensity, and gentle changes sustained over time are what allow follicles to recover their natural rhythm and confidence. If this video helped you understand your hair in a new way, and you'd like to support this channel's ability to keep sharing research-based health content, a small donation is always appreciated and truly helps this work continue and reach more people. And if you found value here, please like the video, share it with someone who may need it, subscribe to the channel, and thank you sincerely for spending your time with me today.